Welcome everyone who's tuning in to another episode of JRCtv. This is a very, very special episode. I'm tremendously excited about our guest. It's someone that I have learned from for many years of my life, and I've read his books. I've had the privilege to get to know some of his family personally, and I got to tell you what he teaches and who he is, and it is an immense value to this planet and an immense value to businesses and professionals all around the world. To give him a proper introduction, and then I'll say welcome. Let me read a little bit about him. Brian is the owner of an international multi-million-dollar company that specializes in educating people for personal and business success. He is the best-selling author of more than 50 books. I've done one, so I am beyond impressed at anything more than one. So 50 is mind-blowing. So needless to say, he knows a thing about time management. Being someone that has trained millions of people in over 55 countries over 30 years, I'm so excited to share some insight and knowledge and life experience with all of our listeners who are going to be tuning into this. So first off, thank you so much for choosing to join us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. I've been following you and your father for 30 years, so it's a delight to be able to contribute something.
It's a privilege to be able to share you and your message with our audience, so hopefully we can ripple it out to millions of people around the world through this. In getting started, being someone that has trained millions of people, 55 countries, 30 years, I'd love to know what's the most important lesson you've learned along the way?
Well, what got me into this business and probably got your father and you and everybody else was my discovery of the incredible, unlimited amount of potential that each person has. And, you know, many years ago, a teacher once said, you know, the average person uses only 10% of their potential. And I thought, well, that was incredible. And then Earl Nightingale said that if you could use 50% of your potential, you could complete the required university courses for 7 or 8 doctorates. You could learn and memorize the Encyclopedia Britannica. You could learn multiple languages with 50% of your potential. So that set me off on this study. I found actually that the average person uses only about 2% of their potential, and all the rest of it lays latent. So that imagine if you could just double the amount of your potential that you're using today. That means you would double your income. You'd double the size of your house. You'd double the value of your car. You could, with just doubling, you could transform. And then you look at other people who start with nothing and accomplish extraordinary things in life, and you find that if you study these people closely, they're just ordinary people who are using more of their God-given innate potential. So that's how I got started for myself and then to teach others.
That's wonderful. And in looking at that, I mean, that's an unreal lesson, and that's an unreal insight there. Just tapping into just doubling that potential, just doubling and activating more of who you are. Knowing that and applying that in your own life, what's one of the hardest struggles you had to go through along your journey, both either personal or business?
Well, you can see where you want to go. Let's say you want to go from rags to riches. You want to be financially independent. You want to build a successful business. Well, then you have to realize that everybody wants that. And there is a testing process. There's Napoleon Hill called it the persistence test. The average person requires 5 to 7 years and about 10,000 hours of hard work to get from starting point to success. And this is the same whether it's automobile mechanics, neurosurgery, professional speaking, or even successful writing. And today we have a generation, if not 2 generations, of extremely impatient people. So they see the goal, they set the goal, and they want it immediately. You know, we say that most people want to start at the top and move up. And the fact is that it takes a long, long period of hard work and preparation to get to the point where you can enjoy that kind of success. So that's the first thing you get hit with, is you start off, and everybody who starts off with hits a tsunami. It takes about 2 to 4 years for you actually to get your feet on the ground once you start in a new business or a career. It takes you 2 years to turn the corner. It takes you 2 more years to pay back your debts. You only start to succeed in the 5th year, and you only break through in the 7th year. And this is based on decades of research.
Wow. Wow. That makes so much sense. And like you said, people who want instant results, and they join a company and within the first 3 months they want to talk to the owner who's been doing it for 37 years and tell him how he needs to run his business.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see the guts that young people have. Yet I agree with you so much. I think we're a generation that has forgotten what it is to fall in love with hard work, to fall in love with the process,
Yes.
and to really enjoy the progress of growing and working and earning the stripes to be able to grow and progress. I believe it's so true. With that thought process, I realize you've grown a magnificent company that obviously has people of just about every generation that works within it now. And I have some friends who are partners and work there. I'm curious, knowing that is truth, what do you do to better manage and facilitate some of your people who come into your own company with that mindset? How do you help take someone who's so young, who wants instant success now, and shape them and remind them and carve them into someone who loves the process of growth with you?
Well, we're very careful about the people that we hire. So we only hire nice people, and we hire people who are ambitious, people who are hungry, people who want to be successful. Now, there's really 3 keys to success based on 22 years of research, 150 researchers, tens of thousands of companies, 16 countries, 3 critical factors. Number 1 is clear goals and objectives. Because each person knows exactly what they're trying to accomplish, and the company has clear goals. Second of all is clear measures and deadlines. Is everybody knows exactly how the work is going to be measured and what the deadlines are. And to answer your question about my company, the third part is rewards for excellent performance. Now, that golden triangle is really the key to success in business, is make sure everybody knows what they're required to do, everybody knows how to measure it and when it's due, and everybody gets paid excellent rewards for doing excellent work. So we have girls working for us who make $65,000, $70,000, $100,000 a year. And people say, well, how can you pay that much? It's because every one of them is paid based on the results that they get. And we structure everything so that each person has a chance to do really, really well. And that leads to high levels of motivation, high levels of commitment, hard work, all the good things.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. I love that. And looking at who you are as a man, I can hear so many tremendous traits. And growing up listening to your tapes and reading your books, I know pieces that I believe make you who you are: determination, hard work, having guts, staying consistent, really valuing having ways to measure and fine-tune your path along the way. But what would you say, some things that most people wouldn't know, what are some key factors that make you you?
Well, everybody has turning points, Jairek, and these turning points are like driving down the road of life, and it could be a very gradual turn or it can be a sharp turn. Sometimes you recognize you've just been through a turning point, like one of our dear friends fell asleep when he was as a passenger in a car, and the driver fell asleep and the car flipped and the driver was killed and he was almost killed and his life is never the same again. You can recognize that as a turning point. Sometimes the turning point is just a comment that somebody makes that causes you to think. We say that most turning points in life come when your mind collides with a new idea that you hadn't thought before. Well, the first turning point for me was that I was responsible for my own life. And that hit me at the age of 20, when I was unemployed, uneducated, unskilled, working as a construction laborer. I realized that this is my life. I learned later, and Jack Canfield writes about it in The Success Principle, Stephen Covey writes about it in 7 Habits. Every successful person looks back and realizes that the turning point was when they accepted, I am responsible. And they stopped blaming other people, they stopped making excuses, they stopped criticizing and complaining. They said, I am responsible for my life. No matter what has happened up to now, and no matter what happens, I'm responsible for my responses. Interesting, Arnold Toynbee wrote about this in a Nobel Prize-winning study on the life cycles of civilizations. He said the key to success in civilizations is responsibility, the ability to respond effectively to the inevitable crises and upsets and failures of adult life. Well, the second point for me was goals. So once you accept responsibility, the second question is responsibility for what? And the answer is be absolutely crystal clear about what you want to accomplish. And then H.L. Hunt once said this, one of the richest men in the world, said the key to success is very simple. He said determine exactly what you want then determine the price you're going to have to pay to get that, and then resolve to pay that price. And just keep paying the price until you achieve it. No big mystery. And if ever there's a problem in life, it's because people don't know what they want, or they don't know the price they're going to have to pay, or they're not willing to pay the price.
That makes so much sense, and it's so true. And knowing that price and falling, my thought is learn how to fall in love with paying that price. Learn how to fall in love with that process. And
Yes.
when you do, all of a sudden, it's not work anymore. It's something that you're passionate about that someone almost has to drag you away from because you're emotionally addicted to doing it. You love the process.
Yes.
And it's an interesting turn for most people to make, is learning how to fall in love with that factor.
Yes. Now here's an important point. You know, you hear the word passion all the time. You use it. Your father uses it. Well, here's one of the discoveries is that very often when you start a new job or career, you're not passionate about it. It's just hard work, and it's grueling. You have failures and setbacks and anything else. You can never become passionate about something until you become good at it. And many people say, well, I'm having troubles with this, I'm struggling with my business and so on, so this is not my passion, so I'm going to go home and wait by the telephone till my passion comes. No. Sometimes you can only become passionate about something like playing a musical instrument. You're not passionate about it when you begin. You're not passionate about a sport when you begin. You're not passionate about a business when you begin. All you basically think of is surviving. It's just doing it well enough. It's only when you start to excel at something and start to get results that you start to get really excited about it and become, quote, passionate about it. So it's a very important point.
I like that. And we live in a culture where, I remember you mentioned 10,000 hours to become good at something over that span of time. We live in a culture where research shows the average young person spends 10,000 hours playing video games by the time they're 21 years old, which is the equivalent of 5th grade through the end of high school with perfect attendance.
Yeah.
So we're becoming experts at doing things that I call the minors in life, things that are not going to make you happier, healthier, more fulfilled, rich, successful in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
And there's probably 10, 20 people on Earth out of billions that have figured out how to monetize playing video games to the point that they can actually make a living and be, financially successful doing it. But then there's billions of other people who fall into the illusion that if I just keep playing my video games, someday my life will turn out the way I want to. And I don't think it's meant to be that way. They've got to wake up, and I agree with you tenfold. Is you got to shake them sometimes and be like, hey, what do you really want with your life, and how are you going to set the foundation? One of my favorite stories I've ever heard is if you ever go to a friend's house when they've just built a new home, what do people recognize? And people many times walk in and say, what a beautiful view, how incredible your architecture is, look at the trimming, the wood, what a beautiful decoration you have. Rarely does someone walk in and pound on the ground and go, wow, look at the foundation you built this house on. Do you have a flashlight? Can I get underneath this and see, how solid your foundation is under here? But the truth is, without the right foundation, the wind blows and your house is done. And it's the same thing with people's lives. They don't spend time focusing on the foundational elements to make them healthy, wealthy, fulfilled in all these areas. They spend time on the decorations, making themselves look flashy in the world, on Instagram with cool pictures and lots of likes, and they figure out, 20 years from now, it's going to be a hard life. So these are so important, what you're sharing with people. It's so, so, so important. It's why we asked you to be on here, because these are life-changing for people. They got to grab them and use them, though. Yeah.
Well, you can just summarize it. Your life is what you make of it. And so wherever you are today, this is your life. This is what you have decided. Now, how can you tell what a person's goals are? This is another life changer for me. October 3rd, 1973, reading in philosophy, I came across this and almost fell off my chair. You can only tell what a person truly believes, what their goals are, what their desires are, by looking at what they do. It is their behavior on a moment-by-moment basis, because at each moment of behavior, we are at choice. We make a choice, and the choice is always between what is more important and what is less important. Interesting study that just came out. Average wealthy person watches an average of 1 hour of television per day. Most cases, they pre-record it so they can watch it when it's convenient for them. Unsuccessful people watch television 5 to 7 hours a day. Poor people, for that matter. It's always a choice. You come in at night, what do you do? Do you spend time with your family? Do you read? Do you get caught up with your kids? Or do you turn on the television? And whatever you do repeatedly becomes a habit. And most people get into the poverty habit. And the poverty habit, Mary Kay Ash has said, think mink, get out of the rabbit habit. Most people get into the rabbit habit. They come home and they do what poor people do. Poor people sit and watch television, and then they wonder why their lives don't get any better.
It's so true. It's so true. And habits make or break a human being. I agree with you tenfold. If you want to know who a person is, look at what their habits are every day, and it tells you exactly not only who they are, but what they value most. And I think a big conflict most people have is they tell themselves every day what they value, but then the way they live their life is incongruent with that. They say they value hard work and being a good person and making a difference, and they spend all day sitting around watching television and wonder why none of those values are congruent with how they feel and who they are.
You can only tell your values by looking at your behavior moment by moment, by looking at your choices. Fortunately, you can actually reprogram yourself by re-engineering yourself, by living consistent with the values that you aspire to. Eventually, they become locked in and become automatic and easy. Goethe once said, everything is hard before it's easy. Developing successful habits is hard, but after a while, it becomes automatic and easy. And most people, we find that developing bad habits is easy, but very hard to live with. Let's go into this time management, Jared.
Absolutely.
We can talk about so many things here.
It's true. I'm excited because we really want to focus on time management. And I want to say, in your perspective, what is the biggest challenge people face today when it comes to time management?
Well, the number one, you touched on it, the number one problem today is distraction. Distraction. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates were at a dinner party last year with Bill Gates' father, and they were they're standing talking, they're good friends. Somebody came up to them and said, excuse me, gentlemen, you're two of the richest people in the history of the world, plus the father, what would you say is the key to success, most important quality? And they stopped their conversation, and all three turned and simultaneously said, focus. Focus is the most important quality for success. Then they looked at each other and they smiled because it was not pre-prepared. It was just the first word out of their mouths. And everything that I've done in my life is come to that conclusion. Successful people can focus on the most important things that they need to be doing at each moment. And unsuccessful people cannot, and therefore they must be supervised and disciplined by others. And those others must be paid well to supervise them and discipline. And where does that money come from? It comes from money that disciplined people should be earning or could be earning by themselves. So in other words, if you're one of the top 10 or 20% where you can decide what you want and then focus single-mindedly on it, you don't need supervision. You just need people to get out of your way. Other than that, you're in the bottom 80% where you must be managed and supervised and reprimanded and paid minimum wage for your whole darn life. So focus is the key. Clarity is the most important quality for success, followed by focus, followed by concentration. Now, electronic interruptions today are what are killing people. Most young people today are dying. They're ruining their lives because they've developed this habit of responding to every shiny object, every bing, twing, wang, bang, note, buzz, or anything else, and they become addicted to it. Here's the research on this. Is that every time you respond to an electronic interruption, your brain releases a shot of dopamine. Very mild shot, but dopamine is the same stimulant in cocaine. And what happens is it's pleasant. It makes you happy. That's why people respond to shiny objects. And if you're not getting shiny objects, what you do is you send emails to people so they'll email back to you, so you can email back to them so they can email back to you. Or you start to go surfing, and you start to look for stimuli. And what happens is, if you check your email first thing in the morning, you basically mainline your first shot of dopamine. For the rest of the day, you're pretty much shot. So the rule is don't check your email in the morning. Don't check your email in the morning, because if you do, for the rest of the day, you're going to be dinging, binging, and bouncing like an attention deficit disordered child for the whole day. And that is the biggest problem in our world today.
Wow. And I agree. One of the most important things I ever learned, and I might have learned it from, I think, one of your programs, which is turn off all the buzzes, distractions, bings, everything.
Turn things off. Leave things off. Turn things off.
Yep. Have that freedom for yourself. Just for our audience specifically, we have many entrepreneurs, life coaches, business owners in this community that this is going to and it's going to spread out to. Based on your experience, how important is it to master time management for these types of people?
All right. Well, all of these people have one common aim, and that is to help people to achieve their goals. All right, whatever you're in. If you're an entrepreneur, your job is to serve customers, to help customers improve their lives by the use of your product or service. We often say that salespeople are actually helpers. We help people understand what is available to enable them to improve their life or their work in some way. We all earn our livings by serving other people. How do we serve other people? We help them to achieve their goals. So the starting point of success is be crystal clear about your goals, and then be crystal clear about the steps that you need to take to achieve the goals, and then about priorities. Now, I started studying time management 30 years ago. I've probably invested 100,000 hours in time management. I have libraries of books. My books on time management are the best-selling in the world in 42 languages. I mean, I just came back from a world trip. They have billboards for me in some countries that Brian Tracy is coming to town, and millions of people have read my book, Eat That Frog, which is how to overcome procrastination and get more things done faster. So the time management, helping people to be clear about their goals and clear about the most important things that they can do to achieve their goals, and then helping people to achieve them, to do them, to stay on task, as teachers used to say, is the great job of coaches, entrepreneurs, trainers, salespeople, everybody in business.
Absolutely. I just have to tell everyone who's listening, I was personally able to go through your Time Management Made Simple course, and I love the fact that you created 21 great ways to double your productivity. A lot of people listening, we live in a culture where everyone wants a quick fix, an instant answer, and 21 ways to double your productivity. Can you share a couple of these for people listening?
Well, there's a series of techniques that I give in my seminar. I'll say, I'll give you 3 or 4 ways to double your productivity, guaranteed, starting today. And number one, I say, first of all, plan every day in advance. And make out a list. Make it so it's almost as automatic as brushing your teeth or breathing. Make out a list of everything you have to do and organize the list by priority. Ask yourself, if you could only do one thing on your list before you were called out of town for a month, which one thing would it be? Put a circle around that. When you start work on that one task. And stay on that task 100%, clarity, focus, and concentration until it's done. If you do that, you will double your productivity from the first day. If you make it a habit, you'll double your productivity and then double it again and double it again. If you increase your productivity by 25% per year, which is 2% per month, which is 0.5% per week, over the course of 10 years, with the law of compounding, the law of accumulation, you'll increase your income by more than 1,000%. Wow. And people are astonished. I say, could you increase your productivity over the next 30 days by 2%? They say, well, of course. Could you do it again in the following 30 days, now that you're into the rhythm of it, learning, upgrading your skills, using your time better, focusing, concentrating, disciplining yourself? Pretty soon it becomes a habit. 25% per annum times 10 years is 1,004%. Well, if you come back to it, you say, all right, if you were to focus single-mindedly on one thing and get one job done at the beginning of each day, you would double your productivity within 24 hours. So now you're starting up at a whole new level. Now you're on a much higher slope. Now you keep doing that, plus some other things, and you'll be astonished at the results that you get.
That's amazing. Simple, effective, useful. Just takes the discipline to implement, people who are watching. My other belief is that it all starts with proper psychology. And what factors do you feel are important in regards to the psychology around time management?
Well, there's 2 or 3. I'm just listening to one of my fans who's just written a really good book on success. He talks about how wealthy people use their time differently, and he's quoting me because I learned this 25 years ago. Whenever you feel like procrastinating or digressing or going and talking to somebody and so on, repeat the mantra: back to work, back to work, back to work. And what this does is like 2 hands shoving you from behind. It actually pushes you back into the work and stops you from digressing or diverting to something else. Now here's another mantra that you can use, and it's do it now, do it now, do it now. And I teach this all over the world in every language. And when you say do it now, do it now. So look at your work, you plan your work. One of the great secrets to success is think on paper. Write everything down before you start. Even if you're going to go grocery shopping, you make a list. If you're going to go on a vacation, you make a list. You're going to write a book, make a list. You know, I teach a program on how to write a book and get published because I've now written 70 books. My 71st book.
My statistic was off.
Next month, my publishers have asked me, could I write what works out to be my 71st book before January 5th? And I said, okay, I'll write the book, and it'll be published by an international publisher. It'll be going massive translation worldwide. It'll be released all over the world. This is not, a home-published, self-published book. And they know that if I say I will do a book, then I will have that book done. And I have a system. It's just like a recipe, and you follow the recipe, and the book comes out the other end, like a pizza comes out of an oven. And it's the same thing with almost all success principles. There are success systems, there's recipes, there's formulas. And if you follow the formulas, you succeed. And one of the great formulas of all is to set priorities. Start on your highest value priority and discipline yourself until it's complete. So that's the most important quality, is discipline. Now, with regard to myself, one of the things that helped me many years ago is I made a decision. I didn't realize it. Turning point in your life. I made a decision that once I had set a goal or made a resolution, I would not quit. I simply would not quit. And I learned later that you can actually pre-program yourself for success by making a decision like that in advance. And what happens is the decision goes into your hard drive and locks in. So when you come to disappointment and failure and frustration and everything else, what happens, it kicks on. It's almost like your default mechanism is set. If you don't set a default mechanism to never give up, then your default mechanism is to give up. And so that's what clicks in. You face disappointment and rejection, and then your default mechanism clicks in. You say, "Oh, the heck with it, I'll quit. I'll go home halfway through the day. I'll watch TV." Sometimes I joke with my audiences. I said, "How many people here go to movies in the afternoon?" I said, "Don't raise your hand, but we know who you are." And everybody in the room laughs. I'm supposed to be working. They have a bad meeting. They have a disappointing situation. They go to. So what you do is you decide in advance that no matter what happens, I will never give up. I just read an article from, not an article, just an excerpt from Napoleon Hill's work, Think and Grow Rich, on persistence. And I've read it many times. I read it 20, 30, 50 times over my life. I read it again. Persistence is the master key. Self-discipline is the master key. Persistence is self-discipline in action. You can tell how disciplined you are by how willing you are to persist when you feel like quitting. Now, everybody feels like quitting all the time. They feel like laying in bed, but they don't. What they do is they discipline themselves because they pre-program themselves to get started. There's two keys to success in life, and you could just shut off this interview, is get going and keep going. That's basically it. Just decide what you want and then get going and keep going and don't stop. And make a decision, I will never quit until I succeed.
I love that, and it's so true. Well, on that, here's what I'm curious about. I've learned so much on this subject, and literally, you obviously have way more content to share here. I've gone through some of the programs you have on this, and there's so much more valuable content, it's ridiculous. So my thought would be, literally, I value your time, and I don't want to keep you, but the thought of, with all this knowledge and all this information, would you be willing to give people just a simple overview of that program that you have on time management? I'm also curious about your book writing program. I don't know if you give us a snippet on both of those programs, and then I'd love to be able to provide a place for people to go get a hold of those.
Okay, well, the time management program, you see, when I was asked by Nightingale Conant in 1982, 83, would I put together a time management program? And I said, sure. At that time, when you're hungry, you'll say yes to anything. And then I sat down and I said, what do I really know about time management? Make a list, work on your highest priorities. I found there's much more to it than that. So I did 2 years of study. I read the top 10 books on time management. I listened to all the audio programs in circulation on time management. I traveled around the country, and I took 6 different full-day time management seminars. I bought 10 time management systems and worked with each one of them for a month. How you organize your time, your day, your priorities, your 80-20, and everything else. And then I put it all together into a program called Time Management for Results. And that program became the best-selling audio program in the history of the world on time management. Actually, within 6 months of release of that program, all the other time management programs on audio had been withdrawn from the market.
Oh, wow.
Because it was so complete. And many people have told me that within a month, that's 3 months, they doubled and tripled their income, transformed their lives, moved to big houses, became the presidents of their own businesses. I'm just life transforming. But after that, I began to put together program after program after program because I found that time management is not a sort of a nice skill to have, like driving a car or riding a bicycle. It is the core skill. It's the sun around which the entire solar system of your life turns. I used to think it was a star that sort of came into orbit every so often, and then I realized it's the sun, and every part of your life is determined by the quality of your time management. So I began working on it, and I found that if you get better and better at time management, it has a multiplier effect in all directions. It affects every part of your life. Here's the most amazing thing. Aristotle said that the great goal of human life is to be happy. And you find that when your time is really under control and you feel totally in control of your time and your life, you feel happy and powerful all the time. You have more energy. You get more done. You're more respected and esteemed by other people. Your self-esteem is higher. I mean, the quality of your life improves as you improve your time management. So I put these programs together. Thank you for asking. But the first one, there's several programs. One is a 12-hour program with 12 hours of instruction based on thousands of hours of research with a 100-page workbook that comes with it, a free time management skills assessment, a 3-month membership in our Business Growth Strategies online training, plus you get power-packed information that has taken me literally a lifetime to develop. And not only that, you get, here are the lessons, 21 great ways to double your productivity is hour 1. The miracle of self-discipline and how to develop self-discipline for the rest of your life is hour 2. Goals, how to set and achieve goals in every area of your life is hour 3. The psychology of time management, how you reprogram yourself with affirmations, visualizations, physical activities, so it locks into your hard drive. Getting yourself organized is the ability to organize yourself to complete complex projects, what we call multitask jobs, is the indispensable requirement for success. Nobody can succeed unless they can do jobs that are composed of multiple jobs, that have a first job, a second job, a third job, a final job. Do you know where all success comes from? It comes from task completion. All success in life comes from task completion, not task working on, not task almost completion, but completing important tasks. And this shows you how to do that. Establishing priorities, a whole series of techniques you can use to choose among all the different things that you have to do at any minute. Plus, developing the key work habits for success, time-saving techniques, overcoming procrastination. This lesson alone has sold me almost 10 million books in 42 languages. Just how do you overcome procrastination? If you can't overcome procrastination, you have no chance of succeeding in life. And if you can, your chances are unlimited. And then finally, keeping up, getting ahead, upgrading your skills. You know, one of the greatest time management techniques is getting better at your key tasks. There's each person, we teach this, each person has 3 key tasks that account for 90% of their income and 90% of their contribution. Identifying those 3 tasks and then becoming excellent at each of those 3 tasks will do more to make you wealthy than any other skill you can develop in your whole life. We teach you how to do that. Saving time working with others. How do you manage, hire, delegate, supervise, make sure that other people get things done, and how do you simplify your life so that you have more time to spend with the most important people in your life. And that whole program is what we're talking about here and what we're encouraging people to get and listen to, and it's unconditionally guaranteed. So if a person takes this program and listens to it and tries it out and they're not happy, then give it back and there's no charge. We always say this, if you're not happy for any reason, no question, anything else, you can have your money back. And so this is the most popular time management program in the world today, and we want to make it available to your guys, to your people.
Wow. And that's amazing. So for everyone listening, I'm unbelievably excited. I believe they need to grab a copy of this, and I'm probably going to grab another copy just to make sure I have one to give away as a gift to some friends. But the thought of where can they go to get this?
Right.
We'll write it up on the screen. That's what we'll do. So we'll put it on the screen here for the interview. We'll put it in the blog notes. We'll make sure it's in the email as well. So for everyone listening, I want you to go grab a copy of this. Absolutely. And also grab a copy for a friend. Grab a copy to pay it forward to someone else you know who struggles with this. And I guarantee every single person listening knows at least one person that needs help with this area of their life. And it might be yourself and somebody, but grab 2 and pay one forward to someone who you really care about, that you think their life would benefit and grow from this product and experience. But I just want to say thank you. And thank you for spending the time with us. Thank you for sharing so many insightful golden nuggets of information and life experience with us. Again, it's getting to speak with and connect with someone who I've looked up to for so long and share you with our community. It's a blessing. And thank you for making the time to do this. I realize you're so busy, but thank you for making that time. And I'm excited to spread this message out there and get as many people as possible to listen in and grab a copy of that program and improve their life and business.
Well, thank you, Jairek. You know, there's a great story. You talk about the foundation, visiting a person's house. If I could wrap up my comments with this story, is if you're walking down the street of a large city and you see a building under construction, how can you tell how tall the building is going to be? And the answer is by how deep they build the foundation. If they're going to build a 30, 40, 50-story building, the foundation will be several hundred feet deep, and it'll be all reinforced concrete. So let's say that somebody builds a building, and they build a 30-story building downtown, huge, fabulous foundation, and then they find that, geez, there's a huge market for office space. We could lease out another 10 or 20 floors of office if we had it. Can the builders of the building then go back and add new floors to the building? And the answer is no, because once the foundation has been set, you cannot increase the depth of the foundation of an office building. However, each human being is the same way, is each person has a foundation, and that is their knowledge and skill, what they call their human capital. It's their talents and their abilities to earn money, to get results that people will pay them for. And at any given time, an individual can go back and dig their own personal foundation deeper, and therefore, as their foundation goes deeper, their earning ability goes higher. And every single time you learn a new skill that you can apply to your life, that you can use to multiply your other skills, your foundation goes deeper and the height of your income goes higher and higher. And so this is what time management does. It gives people the essential skills that they need to have in order to build their building, their income, and their life as high as they could ever possibly want it to be.
I love that. What a gift to share with people, especially now in a time in history where, you know, people are worried about their jobs and worried about their income. This is something that allows them, like you said, to deepen their foundation, to raise the height of their income and their building there in life. It's an amazing, amazing gift. Again, if you're watching this, follow the links below the video, follow the links on our blog or the email that was sent to you, grab a copy of this program, make sure you apply it, and like I said, grab 2 copies, one for yourself, one for a friend or a colleague, and pay that message forward to give other people the opportunity to grow as well. Brian, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of JRCtv. Please help us pay this message forward. If you've listened to this and found value, hit the retweet button, hit the Google Plus button, spread it out, make sure it goes all over the world, that more people can have the opportunity to join in on this amazing process, go through this program, better their life, better their business, grow their ability to take care of their friends and family and the ones they love. Thank you again so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for awesome videos each and every week.